Miss LaPierre here. It's good to see you. I miss you guys. I thought at least just to kind of see a familiar face, you might like me to finish reading our chapter book that we were working on in the classroom, The Little House in the Big Woods. We still have like half the book left. I'm going to read it all on this one video, but feel free to stop it after each chapter, like maybe listen to one chapter each day. And then just kind of remember what chapter you left off on, so tomorrow you can scroll past everything you've already heard, and then we'll pick up where you left off the day before. So in the classroom, I don't know, you probably remember that we left off, they snuck out on Sunday and they rode down the hill on their sled, and they ran into that pig that made all that noise, and they got caught sneaking out on Sunday. And then it was Laura's birthday, and Pa was giving her the 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6 spankings, one for each year. So that's kind of where we're picking up right now. So the next page was Pa singing on his fiddle. There's a violin called a fiddle. He's singing Laura a happy birthday song. So at that night, for a special birthday treat, Pa played Pop Goes the Weasel for her. He sat with Laura and Mary close against his knees while he played. "Now watch," he said. "Watch, and maybe you'll see the weasel pop out this time." Then he sang, "A penny for a spool of thread, another for a needle. That's the way the money goes." Laura and Mary bent close, watching, for they knew now was the time. "Pop," said Pa's finger on the string. "Goes the weasel," sang the fiddle, plain as plain. But Laura and Mary hadn't seen Pa's finger make the string pop. "Oh, please, please do it again," they begged him. Pa's blue eyes laughed, and the fiddle went on as he sang. "All around the cobbler's bench, the monkey chased the weasel. The preacher kissed the cobbler's wife. Pop goes the weasel." They hadn't seen Pa's finger that time either. He was so quick they could never catch him. So he's plucking the string of the violin so quickly when it says pop, but they don't see it. So they went laughing to bed and lay listening to Pa and the fiddle singing. His fingers were as long as the cane in the brake. His eyes they could hardly see. And he had, oh wait, this is the song he's singing. So they went laughing into bed and lay listening to Pa and the fiddle singing. Okay, so that was the end of that chapter. So if you want, you can stay for one more chapter, or you can turn it off, and then tomorrow you can come listen to the next chapter. The next chapter is called Two Big Bears. Ooh, that sounds like a good one. And I have my little baby down here too, so you might see him pop his head out every once in a while. There he is. You see him down at the bottom of your screen? Then one day Pa said that spring was coming. Remember, it's been so cold and snowy, so now it's finally spring. In the big woods, the snow was beginning to thaw. Bits of it dropped from the branches of the trees and made little holes in the softening snowbanks below. At noon, all the big icicles along the eaves of the house quivered and sparkled in the sunshine, and drops of water hung trembling at their tips, so all the snow is beginning to melt. Pa said he must go to town to trade the furs of the wild animals he had been trapping all winter. So one evening he made a big bundle of them. There were so many furs that when they were packed tightly and tied together, they made a bundle almost as big as Pa. So here's my other little guy, Jaden. Jaden, you want to say hi? Say hi.
Hi.
So he's my 5-year-old son. So he's going to come up and listen maybe for a little bit too. So remember, Pa hunts animals. So when he hunts these animals, he takes all their fur off because they were really good. They used every part of the animal when they killed it. So he has all these beautiful furs that he's going to take to town to trade. So he's laying them all on top of each other in a big stack almost as tall as himself. Very early one morning, Pa strapped the bundle of furs on his shoulders. And he started to walk to town. There were so many furs to carry that he could not take his gun. Ma was worried, but Pa said that by starting before sunup and walking very fast all day, he could get home before dark. So think about this. Why do you think Ma was worried about him walking through the woods without a gun. So think
I
about
know.
that. Why do you think?
Because animals are good, not bad.
But why would he be worried traveling without a gun? What's the gun gonna do?
Shoot them,
Shoot who?
the animals.
Yeah, so remember the chapter was called Two Big Bears? So that's kind of foreshadowing. It's letting you know that it's possible Pa might run into two big bears and he doesn't have any way to protect himself. The nearest town was far away. Laura and Mary had never seen a town. They had never seen a store. Can you imagine never seeing a store in your whole life? They had never seen even two houses standing together. But they knew that in town there were many houses and a store full of candy and calico and other wonderful things. Powder and shot and salt and store sugar. They knew that Pa would trade his furs to the storekeeper for beautiful things from town. And all day they were expecting the presents he would bring them. When the sun sank low above the treetops and no more drops fell from the tips of the icicles, they began to watch eagerly for Pa. The sun sank out of sight. The woods grew dark. He did not come. So it's nighttime now. Pa's supposed to be home from trading all his furs. Ma started supper and set the table, but he still did not come. It was time to do the chores, and he still had not come. Ma said that Laura might come with her while she milked the cow. Laura could carry the lantern. So Laura put on her coat, and Ma buttoned it up, and Laura put her hands into her red mittens that hung by a red yarn string around her neck, while Ma lighted the candle in the lantern. Laura was proud to be helping Ma with the milking, and she carried the lantern very carefully. Its sides were of tin, with places cut in them for the candlelight to shine through. When Laura walked behind Ma on the path to the barn, the little bits of candlelight from the lantern leaped all around her in the snow. The night was not yet quite dark.
That's a bale.
Yeah, so here's a picture. We haven't gotten to what this says yet, but there's a picture of Ma and Laura with the lantern, and what do you see? There's one bear. I don't know. So this chapter was called Two Bears, so that picture shows one bear.
So I know why there's only one bear.
Why is there only
Because
one?
these two girls are getting attacked by one bear, and the other guy, Pa, is getting attacked by the second bear.
But do you think they're getting attacked? Look at, what is Ma doing to the bear?
Milking her.
No, the bear. What's the Ma doing to the bear?
Petting her.
Petting the bear. So that's interesting. I wouldn't think I would pet a wild bear. Let's keep reading to see.
But it's dog, so maybe they think it's the cow.
Oh,
but
maybe.
it's actually the baby.
Oh, so she's reaching. Oh, that's a good prediction. Ma's reaching over thinking that bear is actually the cow. You're right, because why would anyone want to pet a wild bear? Let's see. I bet you.
Yeah.
Did you guys guess that too before Jaden said that? Let's see, Jaden, okay?
Okay.
So, let me see. The gray light on this. Okay, the night was not yet quite dark. The woods were dark, but there was a gray light on the snowy path, and in the sky there were a few faint stars. The stars did not look as warm and bright as the little lights that came from the lantern. Laura was surprised to see the dark shape of Soki, the brown cow, standing at the barnyard gate. Is it a cow standing at the barnyard gate?
No.
Oh no, Ma was surprised too. It was too early in the spring for Suki to be let out into the big woods to eat grass. She was supposed to be in the barn. But sometimes on warm days, Pa left the door of her stall open so she could come into the barnyard. Now, Ma and Laura saw her behind the bars waiting for them. So remember, guys, it's not the cow waiting for them. It's a bear. You were right. Good prediction.
Yay.
Now, Ma went up to the gate and pushed against it to open it. But it did not open very far because there was Suki, the cow, standing against it.
That isn't Suki, though.
I know. Ma said, "Suki, get over." She reached across the gate and slapped Suki's shoulder. Just then, one of the dancing little bits of light from the lantern jumped between the bars of the gate, and Laura saw long, shaggy black fur and two little glittering eyes. Suki had thin, short brown fur. Suki had large, gentle eyes. Ma said, Laura, walk back to the house. So Laura turned around and began to go toward the house. Ma came behind her. When they had gone part way, Ma snatched her up, lantern and all, and ran. Ma ran with her into the house and slammed the door. And then Laura said, Ma, was it a bear? Yes, Laura, Ma said, it was a bear. Laura began to cry. She hung on to Ma and sobbed, oh, will he eat Suki? No, Ma said, hugging her. Suki is safe in the barn. Think, Laura, all those big, heavy logs in the barn walls, and the door is heavy and solid, made to keep bears out. No, a bear cannot get in and eat Suki. Laura felt better then. But he could have hurt us, couldn't he? She asked. He didn't hurt us, Ma said. You were a good girl, Laura, to do exactly as I told you and to do it quickly without asking why. Ma was trembling, and she began to laugh a little. To think, she said, I've slapped a bear. Then she put supper on the table for Laura and Mary. Pa had not come home yet. He didn't come. Laura and Mary were undressed, and they said their prayers and snuggled into the trundle bed. So right now, think about how Mary and Ma and Laura must be feeling. So remember.
I know.
What do you think?
Sad that he probably don't get eaten by the second bear.
So yeah, so I'd say sad about their dad, Pa not being home, or worried maybe.
Yeah, worried and sad.
So let's see. Ma sat by the lamp, mending one of Pa's shirts.
How did he sit up when there's nothing there?
He sits up now. The house seemed cold and still and strange without Pa. Laura listened to the wind in the big woods all around the house, and wind went crying as though it were lost in the dark and the cold. The wind sounded frightened. Ma finished mending the shirt. Laura saw her fold it slowly and carefully. She smoothed it with her hand, and then she did a thing she had never done before. She went to the door and pulled the leather latch string through its hole in the door so that nobody could get in from outside unless she lifted the latch. So basically she locked the door. She came and took Carrie, all limp, that's the baby, and sleeping, out of the big bed.
But bears have sharp nails, so he can just rip the door open.
That's possible.
He can just take the door off and go in.
So yeah, so think about, why did Ma lock the door, even though she'd never done that before?
Because he didn't want the bear to go in, but he still will get in because he has sharp nails, so he can just rip the door off.
Maybe. Let's see what happens. She saw that Laura and Mary were still awake, and she said to them, go to sleep, girls. Everything is all right. Pa will be here in the morning. Then she went back to her rocking chair and sat there rocking gently and holding baby Carrie in her arms. She was sitting up late waiting for Pa, and Laura and Mary meant to stay awake too till he came. But at least they went to sleep. Oh, so they were trying to stay awake for Pa, but they fell asleep. In the morning, Pa was there. Let me just double check that this is still recording. Yeah. Okay. In the morning, Pa was there. Oh, phew. He had brought candy for Laura and Mary and 2 pieces of pretty calico to make them each a dress. Mary's was a china blue pattern on a white ground, and Laura's was dark red with a little golden brown dots on it. Ma had calico for a dress too. It was brown with a big feathery white pattern all over it. So calico, I'm guessing, is like a fabric, a type of fabric. They were all happy because Pa had got such good prices for his fur that he could afford to get them each beautiful presents. The tracks of the big bear were all around the barn, and there were marks of his claws on the walls. But Suki and the horses were safe inside. So you're right, the bear clawed the barn walls, but they didn't get in. All that day the sun shone, the snow melted, and little streams of water ran from the icicles, which all the time grew thinner. So the icicles are getting thinner and melting because it's getting warmer.
I know, because I know why ice cubes melt.
Okay, why do ice cubes melt?
Because if it's really cold, they turn into like big ices because it's so cold that they turn into ice cubes. And then when it's so hot, that there isn't any coldness, so it melts.
Yeah, it melts back into
Into
water.
water.
Yeah, you're right. So, before the sun set that night, the bear tracks were only shapeless marks in the wet, soft snow. After supper, Pa took Laura and Mary on his knees and said he had a new story to tell them. The story of Pa and the bear in the way. So here's the next, if you want to stop today and come back tomorrow, we'll read the story of Pa and the bear in the way. So this is Pa's version, why he was gone so long. This is the second bear.
Read it. I want you to.
When I went to town yesterday with the furs, I found it hard walking in the soft snow. It took me a long time to get to town, and other men with furs had come in earlier to do their trading. So the storekeeper was busy, and I had to wait until he could look at my furs. Then we had to bargain about the price of each one, and then I had to pick out the things I wanted to take in trade. So it was nearly sundown before I could start home. I tried to hurry, but the walking was hard and I was tired. So I had not gone far before night came, and I was alone in the big woods without my gun. There were still 6 miles to walk, and I came along as fast as I could. The night grew darker and darker, and I wished for my gun because I knew that some of the bears had come out of their winter dens. I had seen their tracks when I went to town in the morning. Bears are hungry and cross at this time of year. You know that they have been sleeping in their dens all winter long with nothing to eat, and that makes them thin and angry when they wake up. I did not want to meet one. I hurried along as quick as I could in the dark. By and by the stars gave a little light. It was still black as pitch where the woods were thick, but in the open places I could see dimly. I could see the snowy road ahead a little way, and I could see the dark woods standing all around me. I was glad when I came to an open place where the stars gave me this faint light. All the time I was watching, as well as I could, for bears. I was listening for the sounds they make when they go carelessly through the bushes. Then I came again to an open place, and there, right in the middle of my road, I saw a big black bear. He was standing up on his hind legs looking at me.
Wait, stop. But maybe if it was in town, maybe that wasn't the second bear. If they saw footsteps in the town from the other bear, what if that was the other bear?
Maybe.
The first bear.
Oh, well, the first bear was here on this page that they thought was the cow. And then this was the second bear that there could have been lots of bears, you're right. Probably lots of bears in the woods, but
Yeah.
the 2 big bears they're referring to are the one that Mary saw.
Yeah.
Or Laura.
Yeah, but they said he leaves scratches and footsteps in the snow. So that means that it got out of there. And then maybe since it got out, it was leaving those footsteps. Then that's what the first bear. So the second bear has to be Sonia.
Maybe. I think this is the second. I think the first bear was in that barn area. So there's like a fence and then a barn, and the bear could walk all over inside the fence, and he clawed the barn door.
Yeah, but then it got out.
Yeah, and then he got out. So do you think this is still the first bear? You think Pa saw the same bear as Ma? Let's see what it says. Let's see. Oh, he was standing up on his hind legs looking at me. I could see his eyes shine. I could see his pig snout. I could even see his claws in the starlight. My scalp prickled and my hair stood straight up. I stopped in my tracks and stood still. The bear did not move. There he stood looking at me. I knew it would do no good to try to go around him. He would follow me into the dark woods where he could see better than I could, because bears have really good night vision. I did not want to fight a winter-starved bear in the dark. Oh, how I wished for my gun. We can see something on the next page. I had to pass that bear to get home. I thought that if I could scare him, he might get out of the road and let me go by. So I took a deep breath, and suddenly I shouted with all my might and ran at him, waving my arms. Look at the picture me and Jaden saw. Jaden, what is the bear?
It's the second one.
Is that a bear?
It was the second one.
Look at the picture. Is that a bear?
No, it's a tree shaped like a bear.
It's just a tree stump. Phew! He didn't move. I did not run very far toward him. I tell you, I stopped and looked at him, and he stood looking at me. Then I shouted again. There he stood. I kept shouting and waving my arms, but he did not budge. Well, it would do me no good to run away. There were no other bears in the woods. I might meet one any time. I might as well deal with this one as with another.
Oh, just run away. It's a fake tree stump.
Besides, I was coming home to Ma and you girls. I would never get here if I ran away from everything in the woods that scared me. So at last I looked around.
Wait, hold on. Go back to the other two bears.
This one?
No, the other one.
This one?
Yeah, those aren't two bears. The book just thought that was one bear.
You're right, so
It
maybe this
wasn't.
is the same bear as the one walking around. You're
Yeah.
good at making predictions, Jaden.
Because it's just a tree stump. It's the same one.
So, besides, I was coming home to Ma and you girls. I would never get here if I ran away from everything in the woods that scared me. So at last I looked around and I got a good big club. That's like a big stick, a big club. And a solid heavy branch that had been broken from a tree by the weight of the snow in the winter. I lifted it up in my hands and I ran straight at the bear. I swung my club as hard as I could and brought it down, bang, on his head. And there he stood still, for he was nothing but a big, black, burnt stump. So there's the same picture again. I had passed it on my way to town that morning, and it wasn't a bear at all. I only thought it was a bear because I had been thinking all the time about bears and being afraid to meet one. It really wasn't a bear at all. It really wasn't a bear at all? Mary asked. No, Mary, it wasn't a bear at all. There, I had been yelling and dancing and waving my arms all by myself in the big woods trying to scare an old stump. Laura said,
Mama.
Ours was really a bear, but we were not scared because we thought it was sulky. Pa did not
Mama.
say anything. He
Mama.
hugged her tighter. What?
Mama, no, there was one because he didn't know there was a second bear.
That's true. There was one in his own yard that he didn't know about.
Yeah, so he is thinking right now that there wasn't a bear because that's the only bear, but that wasn't the only bear, so there must be another bear.
That's true. There is a bear somewhere out there, huh?
Yeah, because if that was just a tree stump and there was one in his yard that he didn't see, there must be one more.
There is
that
a
must
bear.
not be the one.
There is a bear, yeah. Oh, woo, that bear might have eaten Ma and me all up, Laura said, snuggling closer to him. But Ma walked right up to him and slapped him. And he didn't do anything at all. Why didn't he do anything? I guess he was too surprised to do anything, Laura, Pa said. I guess he was afraid. And when the lantern shone in his eyes, and when Ma walked up to him and slapped him, he knew she wasn't afraid. Well, you were brave too, Laura said, even if it was only a stump. You thought it was a bear. You could have hit him in the head with a club if he had been a bear, wouldn't you, Pa? Yes, said Pa, I would, you see. I had to. Then Ma said it was bedtime. She helped Laura and Mary undress and button up their red flannel nightgowns. They knelt down by the trundle bed and said their prayers. Now I lay me down to sleep. I pray the Lord my soul to keep. If I should die before I wake, I pray the Lord my soul to take. Ma kissed them both and tucked the covers in around them. They lay there while looking at Ma's smooth, parted hair and her hands busy with sewing in the lamplight. Her needle made little clicking sounds against her thimble, and the thread went softly swish through the pretty calico that Pa had traded furs for. Laura looked at Pa, who was greasing his boots. His mustaches and his hair and his long brown beard were silky in the lamplight, and the colors of his plaid jacket were beautiful. He whistled cheerfully while he worked, and then he sang. It was a warm night. The fire had gone to coals on the hearth, and Pa did not build it up again. All around the little house in the big woods, there were little sounds of falling snow, and from the eaves there was a drip drip of the melting icicles. In just a little while, the trees would be putting out their baby leaves, all rosy and yellow and pale green, and there would be wild flowers and birds in the woods. Then there would be no more stories by the fire at night, but all day long Laura and Mary would run and play among the trees, for it would be spring. Okay, so now if you want to stop it and come back tomorrow, we'll read, just skip to the part where you see this showing in the video, the sugar snow. Ooh, that sounds yummy, the sugar snow.